Rev up your engine! Today I'm going to continue cleaning my garage to show you interesting things that have been hiding away in there that even I've forgotten about some of them. It's an old-fashioned garage. And we'll roll my giant fan out to get some room. Here's a giant box. I'll just empty it out on the garage floor here. It's heavy. And other things are falling. It's easier just dumping it out. I've been looking for this wire brush for years. I was wondering what happened to it. Well, there it is. Still in excellent shape since it was inside the box. Okay, what's in here? It's an engine block leak tester. Tells you if your head gasket's blown. It's got the little tube. That goes in there. You squeeze it, fill it up to the fill line with the blue liquid, change it to yellow. When you stick it in the radiator, it means you got a blown head gasket. I got a whole video on that. It's simple and precise. Only problem with this box is it's too small. So it didn't include the liquid you pour in it. But I found this last week when I was cleaning the other side of the garage. These OEM guys, they should have built a bigger box and included the bottle to put in here so it's all in one place. To me, that's a no-brainer. And lo and behold, in the same box, what did I find? The same exact thing. Well, I always wondered what happened to the old one. Then I bought another one. Well, now I have two of them. I'll never run out of these again. CRC intake valve and turbo cleaner. I got a whole video on how to clean your intake valves. You can watch the whole video. Basically, you just spray this, any intake hose, take a little hose off the intake, spray this in while you rev it up, and then runs a little, you spray it and let it soak, then start her up and clean it a little bit more. I've seen this stuff take really serious carbon out of an engine, but realize that the stuff really works. And how it works is it burns the stuff off. So out of your tailpipe, you'll get smoke all over the place. You don't want to do it in your driveway when neighbors are around, because they're going to think your house is burning down and they might call the fire department. It does put out an awful lot of smoke because it's cleaning the stuff out. Just realize that. You want to do it where people don't care that much about smoke or on a really windy day. Or be like me and use a giant fan and you can blow it all away. It'll still go all over the place though. It's a really good cleaner. It just leaves a lot of smoke coming out of the tailpipe as it burns all that crap out. Now here's an oldie but a goodie. It's called Cable Life. What it is it's a sprayer and lubricates cables. Now this is pretty old because most things don't use cables anymore. Everything's electronic. But, you know, my old Celica's got an accelerator cable. Some cars still have transmission shifter cables. You use it to lubricate the cables so they don't bind and they don't wear out. If you have a dry cable, eventually those metal strands are going to wear out from friction. You spray it with this stuff. I do it on my motorcycle all the time. It makes them last a lot longer. Heck, you can use them on anything. Snowmobiles, your leaf blower, any kind of cable operated mechanism. And you know what else I do? We got aluminum windows. I spray the aluminum windows where they slide up and down. It really makes them slide easier. They don't make any noise and they don't bind. Now here's a blast from the past. An old-fashioned plastic clear fuel filter. Yes, I too yearn for the day when fuel filters were this simple. Cost $5. You could see if the fuel's flowing through, and you can see, is the paper clean, is the paper dirty? Unfortunately, most fuel filters on cars are inside the gas tank. You can't see them, they're a pain in the butt to get to. In the olden days, real easy, there it is. What you see is what you get. You can change them in a minute, put another one on, and away you go. Plus, you can have a spare in the trunk. They're only $4 or $5. They go forever if you have them in a little box. And then if something did happen and it got clogged, you can immediately change it out. Plus, when you're trying to figure out what's wrong with the car, all you do is look at it. If it had fuel in it, the fuel pump and everything's working. If it doesn't, you know, that's what you check first. But for the olden days when car repair was much simpler, totally logical, with simple tools and cheap parts, well, those days are gone, so you can forget it. They're never coming back. This is a broken piece. Came off a Ford. It's a water inlet assembly. Got a temperature gauge on it. I had to replace it because it cracked and broke and leaked on a customer's car. I keep this for an example to tell me, hey, this is why you really don't want a bunch of plastic crap on your car. Hot coolant goes through this. It's plastic. What happens? It gets brittle, cracks, and leaks. If they would have made the stupid thing out of metal, it wouldn't have broken in the first place. And it's got to be pretty thick plastic. They could make it out of aluminum metal and it would actually weigh a little bit less than this because it could be super thin because it's a lot stronger. But it's really cheap to make plastic crap. So I kept this one as an example to everyone of why plastic stinks if you use it in the cooling system. And as you dig further into the pile, here's an interesting thing. This is a small area sanding kit. It's got 3 types of sandpaper. It's got 400 that's relatively gritty, 1000 and 1500. Realize if you're going to do any kind of paint work, you start by sanding it sort of rough with the 400, then the 1000, then the 1500, which is finer and finer. So then when you paint it, you wouldn't have all these ugly scratches all over the place from using too rough a sandpaper. And these cool little holders are great because when you're sanding, you just grab this and pull it, doing it by hand, pushing down. Of course, your fingers aren't that even. This thing's flat. It's going to stay flat. You ever going to do any kind of sanding like this? These little kits cost hardly anything, but they're so handy when you have to sand stuff down. I've used these when I'm working on an engine. The engine head is a little bit really dirty and a little pitted. You can use this to sand them down smooth, then put a gasket on and put it on, and you know that it's going onto a flat surface. Now I was looking for this thing for quite some time. Now I find it. You kind of forget, like the squirrels. They put the nuts in the ground, and then they forget where they put them all, and trees start growing. Hopefully no trees will start growing on me, but you never know. This is a dual-sided reverse thread socket. So it gets off nuts and bolts that are either peened on the edges, or more often, if you have those stupid puzzle locks, one on each wheel of your car, and you lost the key for the puzzle lock, this hammers on, then you turn it, as you turn it to take it off, these are reverse threads, they dig in, and you can remove them. Now the problem I always found with those things were, you can get one off, and then the stupid puzzle lock is stuck inside the tool. But these rocket socket guys aren't stupid. They left this metal drift pin in. So then you just hammer it out. That's why it comes in this cool plastic container. You put this in, and you know it's going to fall out, right? So they put a nice rubber top. Super tight, isn't going to fall off. So you'll have it when you need it, and you won't be searching for it. Now I did that, and I didn't remember where I put the whole thing, granted. But I did put all the parts back in the bottle. I did half the job. Back into the pile. Here's something I was never any good at, but maybe you would be. It's a patch kit for dashes or seats to fix cracks. You get material, you bond it to the seat, and then the hard part that I could never figure out was, see all these colors in here? Well, if you're artistic, and you know how to blend colors, you can mix them to get the same color as your dash or your seat, and then you can apply it. Now I tried it myself, and I'm no good at guessing colors. I guess I'm partly colorblind. They never would match very well, but if you have patience and you like mixing colors and you want to fix a little hole somewhere, even comes with a cute little tamper that tamps it down to make it flush, and you like mixing the color, hey, maybe give it a try. I didn't have any luck with it though. What else is in the pile? Well, this is my favorite epoxy. JB Weld, JB Quick. You can say I use the box to mix stuff on. Truthfully, I probably have 5 or 6 of these boxes hidden all over the place. Once I forget about it, I just buy new ones. But this epoxy is insane. I've been using it for decades. You mix an equal length of each, then it starts to turn dark like this, and you have 5 minutes to apply it. It's 5-minute epoxy. Now, it doesn't dry perfectly dry in 5 minutes, but it does set. It's perfectly set in 5 minutes. It'll hold the part there. If you really have a harsh environment it's in, or it's a real stressful part, let it sit for 12 hours overnight before you use the thing. But I've been using this stuff for years. It's totally amazing, the stuff it can bond together. I did it on a Volvo once, had a crack in the head. I drilled where the crack was and I filled it with that. Hey, and a year later, they were still driving the car. It amazed me. What else is in the pile? I've been looking for these scissors a while too. Japanese made super combo scissors. They are insane. They're serrated. You can cut through metal, plastic, radiator hoses, fan belts. They're amazing scissors. Now, I didn't spend too much time looking for this because, don't tell my wife, but we have 2 of these. One of them's in the house. It's in the tool drawer, and we actually use it when we eat lobster or crab because it's so good. It'll cut right through the lobster shell and the crab shell, so you don't have to do all that cracking and pulling and wreck your hands. You can just cut through one side, then the other, then it opens right up and you get the meat out. Now I got my work one back. I won't have to use that when she's not looking. You know what else is in the pile? Why is a little plastic hypodermic needle? This is one of the craziest things anybody ever sent me. It's called Certec gels. And it says, it claims to repair worn surfaces with ceramics to keep your engine from stop using oil. You squirt this in your engine oil. You take off the oil cap, squirt this in. Now, they could have had anything, you know? They could have just had a bottle you pour in, but putting it in this, they're acting like you're some kind of car doctor. The thing is a total scam, and a guy sent me a box of these. I had them analyzed by a guy at an oil company that's a friend of mine, and he said, Scotty, we saw what was in there, and it was compounds that we've heard of, and we've even tested, but we came to the conclusion that they were crap and they didn't do anything, so we never produced them. So you could say goodbye to this, but I'm keeping it in the box because it makes me laugh. What else is in the pile? Aha! An ethanol testing kit. You just pour a little bit of water in, then you pour gasoline in, then you shake it all up, and it tells you exactly how much ethanol is in your gasoline. Because if you have too much ethanol, it will make the car run poorly. Now, if you've got one of those flex fuel that can run on E85 or gasoline or any combination, you don't care about this. But normal cars, you get more than 15% ethanol, it's going to make them run weird, it's going to do weird things. This is a very simple, accurate test. You can't beat it. Take some gas out of the car, follow the directions, shake it up, and you'll see how much ethanol is in your gas. Now that I know where this is, I'm going to put this on a shelf because I use it every once in a while. What else was in this marvelous box? Well, look, it's a giant hockey puck. You know anything about hockey? Hockey pucks aren't this size. They're smaller. But this is like a giant hockey puck, only has crenulations on the top with a V cut in it. And what it's for, you can put it on your jack. So when you put it on your jack and you jack up the car, the rubber is what hit your car, not the metal, and there's much less chance of doing damage. As you can see, once I get my leaf blower out of the way, there it is. Fits right there. So, when you jack things up, it worked great. And if you have any slats, you line this up with the slat, and it'll fit perfectly. For those of you who are worried about bending your pristine car, maybe it's your sports car baby, you really need one of these. Stick them on a jack, then, if these ever break, you just buy another one. You don't bend your car, you don't mess with the jack, you're using this as a buffer. And what else is in the pile? It's a spare electric fuel pump for my Celica. When I bought the Celica, it had 200,000 miles on it. I thought, well, I better get a spare fuel pump. So I had it, I put it in the trunk. But then, some time ago, years in the past, I did a video on pumps, so I brought it out, and I guess I threw it in the box when I was done instead of throwing it back in the trunk. I shouldn't have bought it in the first place. This pump still works perfectly fine. Rarely do Toyotas go up, but I mean, heck, this is the same factory Nippon Denso pump that it comes with. And if you're stuck somewhere at the dealer, they can be $300-400 bucks. And I got this one for like $69 at an independent auto parts store. So I figured, what the heck, I'll have a spare. I guess I'll put it back in the trunk. This is a never used power steering pump. Years ago, some Chinese company sent me this, and I never had a car to put it on, so I never got to test it out. But it's just been lying in the box for years now, and I can see it's got a lot of surface rust. And watch this. It's a power steering pump. It's supposed to turn, right? I can barely turn the thing. Just sitting there. It's pretty much seasoned up, which tells me the quality of this thing wasn't all that hot. So, if I were you, and you're thinking about buying a power steering pump, I would kind of slide away from buying these really cheap, generic power steering pumps that come out of China. If this one wasn't even used and can barely turn now, I'd hate to see what happened on an actual car. This is one box. There's a whole bunch of boxes in there, and this one box is going to fill this entire video, and more probably. What else is in here? A can of new finish. I've been waxing my cars for years with this stuff. Now technically, it's not a wax, it's a polish. Theoretically, it works different. But the advantage of this stuff is, this is pretty cheap. It doesn't cost much. The once a year, I still do it 4 times a year. We live in a filthy world. All kinds of contaminants get on your paint. Wash it, let it dry, then use this new finish polish in the shade. Don't do it in the sun, and wipe it off. It's great stuff. And if you remember, polish windshields. It gets the windshield so polished that your wiper blades don't drag and make horrible noises, and they last longer. A clean, slippery windshield, not only does it wipe better, but it does less wear on the wiper blades, and you can sometimes get years out of them instead of months. What else is in here? Clay bars. If you're a real fanatic about your car paint, clay bars are exactly what they say, a bar of clay. Wash your car, soap and water. You get these clay bars, you wipe it all over. It gets rid of imperfections in the paint. If there's any kind of debris, it picks them up. If you got a really filthy car, they actually make clay bar lubricant, and you spray that on the paint. Then you wipe this, you keep going until it's totally smooth. Then when it's all done, you wax the car. Or in my case, you polish the car with new finish. It's great stuff if you got the time. Me, I've got no patience for it, so that's why I was down on the bottom. I don't have time for that. But I've done little panels here and there, and the clay bar stuff really is good. All the guys at the car shows do stuff like this to make the paint look perfect. You go to a car show, you look at those cars, they shine, they just pop, and they've got lights on everything to make the colors pop. You want to keep your car looking like that if you buy a nice car? Pay somebody to clay bar it. What else is in here? Oh, look at this. An old Volkswagen Beetle 1-barrel carburetor. I've rebuilt plenty of these in my time in the past. It's called 1-barrel because guess what? It has 1 barrel going through. A 4-barrel carburetor has 4 barrels. This has 1. Not the raciest, speediest things, but man, they were simple. They could last a really long time, and any fool could rebuild one back in the day with a $15 carburetor repair kit. It was easy, do-it-yourself stuff back in the day. Considering that this simple device does the same thing that a modern car, a computerized fuel injection system does. If you ever have to fix one of those, you might be yearning back to the days when they had 1-barrel carburetors on them, and any fool could repair them. And what else is in the pile? You never guess what this thing is with all these connectors. This is a headlight switch from a Porsche. All these connectors for a headlight switch. Used to be a flip the switch on, send power to the headlights. Not on this baby. It's all computer controlled, has all these things, and this stupid switch costs hundreds of dollars. Another reason not to buy a Porsche. I had to save this because people don't believe me. I have to show them the proof that all these terminals and computers are used to turn the headlights on in one of these Porsches. As the saying goes, out of sight, out of mind. If Scotty doesn't see something, it doesn't exist. So what's the last thing I finally going to talk about? Well, look at this. It's a Nippon Denso fuel injector. If you know anything about fuel injectors, it's brand new. It's never been used. For a little experiment I did making a video about fuel injectors. This is a Nippon Denso one. This particular one goes in a Toyota. They hardly ever go bad. So I didn't have any bad ones lying around. So I just went out and bought a brand new one to use for the illustration. To me, it's amazing. These tiny little things made of plastic with metal inside that spray fuel injection in the car can last as long as they do. Take my old Celica with 240,000 miles. It still has the original fuel injectors in it, and they still work perfectly fine. It's amazing that people can design things that well, that work that efficiently. But if you look closer, you can see something. You see how tiny those little holes are? There's tiny little holes inside here, and that's where the fuel gets sprayed through. So it doesn't take much to clog those little holes up. So you want to use good gas and change your fuel filter every once in a while. Because if those things get clogged up, the car isn't going to run right. 240,000 miles later. I mean, some things can be made correctly by certain manufacturers. Now, this really makes my heart break to tell you this, but the rest of the stuff is mainly crap, and I'm just going to throw it away. It's a good thing my wife's not here. She's on vacation because she'd be cheering in the background that I'm actually throwing something away. So it's helped me get rid of some of this junk in the crotch. But like I say, this is a Norse saga. It could go on forever. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.